Oh my God, it's that time of the week, my most exciting time, Wednesday, 11 o'clock Pacific. It's where we remove roadblocks for speakers and coaches and entrepreneurs. And usually I'm excited, but today I am extra excited because I've got a fabulous individual sitting in the green room back there. She's probably working over the charcuterie board. You get there early, you can spend a little time sitting in the hot tub, nibbling on a Dove bar, kind of, contacting the other guests that have been there, signing the wall that has everybody on there. But let's not just delay. Let's get this thing going and get her out here. Please welcome Vendana Puranik.
Hey.
Hey, it's so great to have you here.
You know what? I couldn't find a towel. I got to tell you, I got to be honest.
Your hair looking a little bit wet, like you just popped out of there. It's kind of cool there. But let's jump right in about this.
Yeah.
You're doing some fabulous things. You've got an amazing event coming up a week from now, which is going to help so many entrepreneurs. And tell us how this vision kind of came about what you're doing.
Yeah. So I was in a situation where I had 3 kids. 2 of them were the same age, 6 and 7. And my boy was 6 and really smart. My daughter's really smart. And they were kind of neck and neck and they were just very similar. And so one day though, my son started to have behavioral issues, and it was very much, I can pinpoint the day. He wouldn't want to go to school. He wouldn't want to get up. He wouldn't want to be with anybody else. He didn't have any friends, leading to all kinds of issues. And that's tragic for a 6-year-old boy. And his teacher at that time had tested him and said that his math is at a high school level and his reading comprehension is at university level. He says, you got to get him out of here. So we decided that we were going to go get him tested for psychological testing. And then we thought, we'll just throw our daughter in there. They're kind of similar. Let's see what the difference is. Anyway, the psychologist comes back, fairly well known, and he says, I can count on one hand kids as bright as yours. And we were just floored. I mean, you just want to cry when you hear something like that, out of happiness, but also out of just being scared as to what the heck do I do now? Then he says, what are you going to do for your son? I said, this is amazing. We have all documentation now that says that, this is his aptitude and what he's got to do. And he's got to be in a special program. School board's going to fast track us. And then he said, what are you going to do about your daughter? And I said, you know what? She's really happy. She's doing well. She's got a lot of friends. She's diplomatic. She makes happiness. She makes things happen. Why try to fix something that ain't broke? And then he looked at us, and this was almost like a slap in the face where, it hurt so good. And he said, that is exactly why you need to push for her, because this is what happens to women all the time. They get, shoved around and missed and skipped, and because they're not creating issues, they're always creating solutions. And as a female, as a mother, as a wife, as a business person, and every other role that I play, I can attest to that. I mean, I'm always trying to find a solution. So that kind of made me think that I need to do something for women. It's been in my subconscious for a while now. The kids are now much older, so it's given me time to think. And yeah, so that's kind of what prompted me to do this initiative for women. But it's for women and also people who love women. It's not, I just want to make it clear that it's an open group. But it's centered around how do we lift women.
That is so cool. And if you want to check out the launching of the new site, it's thisiswhatshesaid.com. And it's a great place. I'm excited for it. And I know that because I really like the catchphrase. I'm going to show it. Bad bitches doing great things. But guys, if you are looking for something like this, it works for you too. She's done so much and so much good along the. Speaking about doing good and great along the way, backstage right now, working on the charcuterie board, we got Paula Scaper. I don't know, Paula, if you want to come on or not. Let me know if you do, and I will bring you on with Vendana here. But she's also an amazing marketer, amazing woman, businesswoman that I've run into over the last 5 years or so, which is fantastic. So tell us more about the event that's coming up a week from today.
Oh, it's going to be awesome. It is going to be so much fun. It's a 2-hour event. It starts at 5 p.m. on November 20th Eastern time, and it goes till 7. And we're going to be covering all kinds of stuff. There's definitely opportunities for networking, finding out more about the posse, as you called it, and I call it now too. There's educational pieces in there. There are just fun activities in there that'll break the ice, and we've already got, I think we've got close to 70 people coming so far, and those are confirmed attending. So it's growing, it's getting bigger and bigger, and we haven't even started the real sort of marketing push, if you will. So super exciting, but it'll be intimate because we're going to do breakouts quite a bit. So you can actually get a lot accomplished and get some good relationships going too.
That's fantastic. And I know that if you're watching this right now, you can come on and ask questions or go to the website. If you're watching this later and have questions, put them in the comments. I will make sure that Wandana gets them. And I would love to have you come on in here now. JoinRayLive.com. You could come on live. You'll be there with the 2 smiling faces you see right now. And we'll add extra smiling, extra joy, extra insanity sometimes to this broadcast here. But it's so exciting to work with people that are excited about what they do and excited to lift people up. You've got this thing coming on. I just started some. I haven't really officially announced it, but that'll come the 15th. I'll announce I'm doing $1 million challenge for people, like my clients.
Love it.
I've soft launched it already with just simple tips like write down people that you used to work with. And we've already had people get up to over $70,000 worth of business without.
So I have to jump in here because I'm a marketer and strategist by profession. I build brands and businesses is what I have done for a living, all the way from entrepreneurs to multi-million multinationals. 100% success in growing businesses of any kind, no matter what direction they were going. So I have a real soft spot for growing brands and businesses. I still love to do that. But in all of my work, I kind of got bored doing the same thing over and over again because I was seeing the same problems. And so I decided to pivot a little bit. And then I started speaking and writing. And I write now and I teach about curiosity and creative problem solving, essentially how to solve the impossible. Nice. And now I've done several speaking. I've spoken at Harvard and Stanford and Cambridge and Oxford, and all the names I can drop, I'm going to drop. But I most recently did.
I'll adjust your sound. That was the sound of a mic drop.
Yeah.
On her end, so that bump that you heard, it was just a mic drop.
My own mic.
Yeah. If you're a guy named Mike, don't worry, she's not dropping you.
Yeah.
It's the sound of the mic drop she's using.
But I did my TEDx talk recently, and the interesting story with that one is that I have breast cancer. Going through that, I was doing great things, and all of a sudden I got hit with breast cancer. So I've been going through that, and then earlier this year I ended up in a coma, and I was in a coma for 2 weeks. I was in the hospital for 2 months, and then 3 days after I got out of the hospital, I did my TEDx talk. Nice. Note to self, you got to be able to breathe really well before you decide to orate. So it was a tough moment, but just I learned so much. First of all, I had the best coma ever.
I love that. I love that twist on
total twist. And I sincerely did. Like, yeah. I remember there's quite a bit that I remember. And anyway, so we're went through the coma, started writing down all the stuff that I could remember. Lots of great lessons. Have done a lot of podcasts. Going to be speaking in Ireland. Have been on the New York, the NASDAQ billboard in Times Square. One of my books may get into the Oscars. I'm just debating whether to do it this year or next year. Yeah, and even the Iceland thing, it happened because of podcasts and stuff. So it's a pretty phenomenal story. But there's 3 things that I talk about in terms of business growth that I just wanted to share because you're launching that $1 million what's it called? A challenge. Thank you. It was coming to me. It was coming.
Yeah.
Things were a little bit slower sometimes.
It was a challenge, and it knocked a couple of times. You opened up, let it in.
Yeah, that's right. But there's 3 principles I talked about that I think are really critical to business growth, and really critical to solving almost anything. The first thing is solving for the outcome, not the problem. Because everybody focuses on the problem, and then you get problem, 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 problem. You don't even know if it's the right problem. You don't know if it's actually something you can address. You don't know if it's tied to any of their problems or dependent on any of your problems. You don't even know if it's a problem you made up in your head. How many of us have, been in a situation where we've created problems where they don't exist? When you become problem-centric, you become cognitively rigid. So you don't want to become cognitively rigid. Because then when you have new information coming in, you can't take it in, you can't absorb it. If you're solving for the outcome, it changes the rules of engagement. You have to, what actions do you have to take? Which problems do you have to solve? Are those the only ones? Who do you have to talk to? What research do you have to do? It leads you in just a completely different direction. So that's the first thing I talked about. The second thing I talked about was suspending yourself in a state of curiosity. And the reason that's important, this childlike wonder, is you completely open your mind up to an Einstein-like mode. You discover things, you learn things, but what's really cool is that it's actually an active state, not a passive state. So you're actually taking control and I can give you countless examples of how that plays out. But that's the second thing. And the third thing is intellectual humility.
Intellectual what?
Humility. And that has a lot to do with realizing that you're not right all the time and you don't know everything. There's something called the Dunning-Kruger effect, in which people believe they know more than they do. Mm-hmm. And you've been there, and so many people like that. And I heard this awesome quote once. It's like, just because you walk around, dressed like fancy and, saying a bunch of stuff that nobody understands doesn't mean you're an artist. So it's like, this is what happens, is that, we fool ourselves into thinking that. But if we realized that we need to live in intellectual humility, we'd be in a different place. And the reason I talked about those and I mentioned those is not just because it's the start of, how to solve the impossible, but this is exactly what happened when I was in the ICU and I had 10 specialists on my case every day. And they were phenomenal, totally phenomenal experience. I mean, I was out of it, so I didn't know, but I was in my own world, and let me tell you, that's a whole other story. But it was just phenomenal to see. Really, really, really phenomenal to see and see. So I translate that into business too. Like, if you're really doing the right thing, why would you not want to solve for the outcome? Why would you not position yourself in a state of curiosity? And why would you not be intellectually, humble?
And one of the things that I think is so important that people miss in business, they have this incredible lack of ability to connect. Mm-hmm. And one of the things and curiosity is one of the most powerful things on the planet. And that really tell me more is what you want to do and where you want to go with this. Mm-hmm. The other thing that you mentioned about the curiosity, everybody that's charismatic, if you really kind of break it down, we actually broke charisma down into about 17 different categories. Okay. And every person you've met who's charismatic always has a piece of childlike awe and wonder that they never let go.
Yeah.
And it's the ability to look at, and we were talking a little bit about humor earlier, which is really my specialty, but what makes somebody more humorous than other people is they don't see the big picture. They see every piece of the big picture. And so they can take those pieces, those threads, and pull on them whenever they want. And somebody that has a great sense of humor, who's very funny, looks at the logic of the words, not the logic of the idea.
Yeah.
And so it's just a perspective. And And I love the perspective that you talked about with it was the best coma ever, because when I had COVID twice, I thought, man, guilt-free naps. It's incredible. It is absolutely.
Okay. Mine, I mean, I was right out of it. And I was in a situation where I was flying like Superman. I can still feel the wind on my face. It was dark. It was all the stars were out. And I'm through the air, then through galaxies, through dimensions, through realms, and ending up in places that I didn't even know existed or even had even thought about. And what people were doing there was unbelievable. I mean, I thought I was thinking big. Man, I have no idea. I had no idea what big was until I went into that mode. And it's just propelled me to behave so differently, you know.
What do you think stops people from thinking bigger?
There's so many angles that I could talk to you about, but I think one of the big ones is, well, curiosity could easily be one of those, but I think we live by norms a lot. And I love working with outliers. I love working with audacious and ambitious people who are outliers because they know they're meant for more and they want to make it happen. They just don't know how, because it's really hard when you're working on your business to look at things objectively.
Yeah.
You need an outside person to tell you, like, no, do it this way. No, that doesn't make sense. Or question you as to why you would do certain things. But I really believe conformity is killing us. And I just don't know if people think for themselves. Like, look at the latest election, for example. You know, that's a tough one, right? Like it's more about, you know, sort of following the Pied Piper as opposed to really thinking on your own. And I just feel like if we approached things with some of the principles that I teach about, listen to me, I'm like talking about myself. I'm so great. It's not that. It's that I just want us to be really far better thinkers, and I want us to be wiser decision makers. And that's my goal in life.
And the thing about that, Wanda, is that if I didn't think you were great, I wouldn't have brought you on.
Thank you, Ray.
And Linda,
I only had to pay you like what, $1 million to say that?
Yeah, it was a little shy of that.
Yeah,
shy of that. Linda, who's in a group, I'm in a group on Facebook with a bunch of coaches, and Linda Lopecki, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce her last name, but she just posted in the private chat that conformity is the opposite of success. And I like that. And I like that. One of the things that I think, and you were talking about being able to see outside, if I'm going to hire a coach, the first questions I will ask that's a make or break is, who's your coach? Because if they don't have a coach, then I know that they don't really buy into the way this works. Because, and I've heard it said in a couple different ways, but you can't read the ingredients from inside the jar. Yeah.
I like to use a theory of a wine bottle, but okay, jar is okay too. You know.
And Paula, who was back there before, had to hop off and take a client call. So thanks for popping in, Paula. And if anybody wants to come on in here, I can just show you how. It's joinraylive.com. And we put it on the little thing down there. But solve the impossible. I love the three things. Just a reminder for everybody: solve for the outcome, not the problem. And don't be afraid to go before you know, because if you didn't, then you wouldn't take the time to quickly type while one is talking and misspell the word the. Right? And suspend yourself in curiosity, and intellectual humility is the third. And as you're doing that, you will solve the impossible. That's the steps for solving the impossible, which is outstanding. I was just going to talk about something. From my world with speaking and working with speakers and coaches. One of the things that I want to point out to all of you out there is when she presented herself, she started talking about things that people come on, they go, oh, you're a guest, you're an expert on this. But you also know she does TED Talks. She speaks at Harvard. She speaks at universities. She speaks all over. You can hire her to speak. You can hire her to do things all you want. And she just kind of dropped those little seeds in there along the way. And that's what you have to do. You have to let people know what you do, because your audience is confused, overwhelmed, and befuddled. And you want them fused, whelmed, and fuddled. is really where you want to be.
You know, it's interesting. The group that I'm speaking for in Iceland is they're 7, 8, and 9-figure sellers. Like they're big, and they still want to have somebody like me there. You know, such an honor, right? Because it's at that point, like, you know, you've earned tons of money. You can earn more, sure, but is that it? Like that, there's got to be more to life than that, right? So it's nice to know that people are wanting to learn more and apply more. It's interesting. I did a LinkedIn post about this too, and that is that we often in the entrepreneurial side get put into a situation where just do it, just do it, just do it, just do it, you know, doesn't matter. And then you might make mistakes and it's okay to fail and then just do it again. I actually like to take a step back and do it strategically because you don't lose anything. And so I'm really big on building strategies. I'll talk about that in a moment. But, you know, if we just jump at everything, it's really hard. I think the whole idea of intention is amazing. The whole idea of action is amazing. So I think intention without action means nothing, but action without the right direction also means nothing, or it could be worse. But mathematically, the way I say it is intention plus action plus direction equals acceleration. And so I think that we need to think about that a little bit, because rather than sort of just jumping, just at least make sure you have a sound direction. You know, business strategy is one way to do it. A branding strategy is one way to do it. Most people don't know what a brand actually is. And it actually can be developed pretty scientifically. So these are, you know, your big guns that can get working for you right away. And so, you know, we really have to be smarter about how we approach things. I don't believe in just jumping and doing things, but I also am not very patient. So with myself anyway. So, you know, work on the strategy and then start moving.
And I've had such the worst time in life doing that. My successes have all been, if I was telling this to somebody the other day, so if you looked at my business career as a record album, that dates me, doesn't it? And some people have an album, like if you look at, you know, Pink Floyd's The Wall, it tells this whole story through this whole thing through the album. Mine is like a K-Tel record, which is a series of one-hit wonders that have worked very, very well for me. and like I know this $1 million challenge is going to work out great, because I know if I can show the world that I can take my friends and clients and put an extra $1 million in their pocket in what's supposed to be the slowest time of the year, that come back to me in a great way. I just didn't sit there and plan it out. I just started it and got people involved and said, try this, do this, and it starts to work. But I wish I had.
Can you tell me a little bit more, or can you talk a little bit more about the $1 million challenge? Like, what is?
So I've come up with a bunch of simple ways to have business conversations with people you already know. So you don't have to sell anything. You don't have to feel salesy. You can be genuine and authentic. And I've put out 3 or 4 tips like this. And the first one is to sit down and write out everybody that you've ever been asked to speak. I working with speakers when I did this, but anybody you've ever done business with before that you don't do business with now, write down the names of those that you enjoyed and you enjoyed the event that you went to, or the business that you did with these people. Make a list of those names, because people have no idea how long that list is.
Yeah.
And when I sat down and I did it, there was 50 or 60 names on there, and I came up with that in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So step 1 is just simply recognizing the low-hanging fruit that hangs in your yard. The second part of that is reactivating that low-hanging fruit, and people try and be too fancy with it. Friends aren't fancy. That's the key thing. People do business with friends. And if their friends aren't available, they'll find other friends to do business with.
Yeah, brilliant.
You activate this friendship by sending it, you take off all the logos, all the things. You can keep a cool picture of yourself on there because people like to see you and smiling. And just send a 7-word email Wandana, it's been too long. Let's catch up, Ray. And
Love that.
you send that out. I did that for a group on a whim one time of people that wanted to learn how to get paid more or get paid to speak. And within 1 minute of I made them send it out right then. Within 1 minute, like 5 people would raise their hand and say, "Oh my God, somebody replied to this. Oh my God, somebody replied to this." And when I did that for my clients and friends, someone got a $26,000 opportunity because someone was needing someone just like them at that moment.
Wow.
They worked together in the past, so it was right
Yeah.
place, right time. I call that the location close. You have to be right place, right time to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing that I really believe is celebrating clients. And I have one of my clients, he won the National Speakers Association Last Story Standing contest. And so I had I went to a company and I had a shirt made that has him.
Aw, that's awesome.
That. And then the other thing I just thought up, of which I mentioned to you and I'll mention to everybody out there, if you want to reactivate some people that you've worked with in the past and start on a great foot, start a client hall of fame and reach out and say, I'm starting a client hall of fame. You're one of my nominations. I need 2 minutes to get a quote from you for the hall of fame.
Would you do that right at the beginning, Ray, or after you've had a little bit of a time and experience with clients? I mean, I have past clients that I could do that with.
It's a different way. It's just what I'm talking about. You wouldn't just go right to that with somebody, but if you've had a good relationship with them in the past,
yeah,
like who've worked with me, they know that there's going to be some fun, some entertainment. And I could go to anybody I've worked with in the past, said, "Hey, I'm starting a client hall of fame. Can I get a quote?" And they'll go, "Sure." So I would have no problems doing that. It's not for a client you've never worked with before, but it's for somebody that you've got a history with.
So it could be companies as well.
Yeah. Yeah. But you're going to go to the individual within.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's where people get all tense about going, my business to your business versus my business to a consumer. Well, every businesses are made up of people. Mm-hmm. And if you don't win over a person, mm-hmm. sometimes you have to win over a stack of people to get where you want to go. And that's why I love working with entrepreneurs. I love working with people in control of their own, because I like to see the changes that I'm working with. So mm-hmm. that's the genesis.
So why is it called $1 Million, and how long do you have to do it?
So I'm going to officially launch it the 15th. That'll go to the end of the year.
Okay.
And it's kind of a tune-up for something I want to do, which is going to be a mastermind where some people here are going to do very, very well in the next month and a half when they're not supposed to, because it's supposed to be the quiet time of year. And it's called the $1 Million Challenge because I'm hoping for 100 people that add an extra 10 grand to their sales by doing this. But reality of it, it's going to be 10 people doing 100 grand or 40 people doing 25 grand, mm-hmm. one of those combinations. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And if it works out like I think it will, because mm-hmm. we're already 70 grand in and I haven't even talked about it hardly. Then I'm going to do it again in March, so I can call it the $1 Million March. Get it?
That's good.
And I'm going to run the mastermind group from January. I'm going to run a year-long mastermind. I want people in the mastermind because people are making this whole sales thing so freaking hard on themselves, and they've got the leg in the door of so many places, and they don't know that the smile is like instant rapport, likability, and trust.
Yeah.
And when you laugh, you throw your head back, which exposes the most vulnerable area of your body, and that's what's happening when you do that. So the use of humor in business.
Love it.
There's a book called Humor Seriously, which is Jennifer Akers and Naomi Bagdonis. They teach a graduate level course in Stanford on business humor, which has the exact credit as financial accounting in the MBA.
I really think I need to take that course. Yeah. I mean, I think I would just have the best time because I love humor. Everything I do I find humor in so many things.
And it's instant. It's instant. And yeah. Linda backstage says we have a wall of fame for clients and the annual Competa Peer Award for their competitors, which I love. I love that.
That's a cool idea. Really cool idea.
Yeah.
I mean, how motivational is that? Like, that's amazing, right?
Yeah, and the key thing, like I used to do things on the whim, and again on a whim, where I would, when I was a sales manager,
Wow, that's a surprise.
front room, back room, and so I ran a competition between front room, back room, and just for bragging rights, and they were like, oh my god. So it doesn't, the award doesn't have to be amazing. It can be as little as recognition.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever gets praised gets repeated,
Hmm.
and that's a common human action. I've spent my life kind of going from the super shy guy to being able to interact in groups of people and bring like groups together that don't even know each other and hated being there, and having them go, oh my god, I can't believe this is over, kind of thing.
You know,
So
I'm actually thinking about, not thinking about, I'm going to be launching very shortly a um, a program where people who are in that ambitious, audacious stage, who feel like they're an outlier, they're curious, they're builders, they're creative, they don't want to be in the status quo, they, you know, but they're progressive. Not, I don't mean politically, I mean,
yeah,
you know, thinking wise, and and they really want to catapult their business. I want to work with people like that. So I'm
yeah,
actually going to do a specialized program for those people as well, which will be completely separate from the posse. But anybody from the posse is welcome to join that as well. So
very
pretty
cool.
cool. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I love your idea of. I love the idea of a challenge. I feel like, is it just a concept, or do you actually have to run anything? You know, and I I just don't know the answer to that. But I love the fact that people can earn a good chunk of change by participating in something like this.
Yeah, and I want to create a group kind of atmosphere where people are, because once you get a group, then people are helping each other out and doing that. I made uh, I made a I think a LinkedIn page for it. I'm the only person on there right now. I haven't even announced it or anything. But yeah, this is kind of what my life is like. Oh my god! And I do these things and they work, and then I don't do them again. So it's like that's my there's my struggle in a nutshell, because I'm incredibly creative, and I love doing things where I can help other people, and they wind up working well and making money for me. But God, if I had a plan and did this on a regular basis, it would be like the simplest thing in the world, just to create,
And
because
do it. You've heard about a similar situation with Apple. So Apple has incredible technology that's coming, but they won't launch it until they have milked the current technology to its max. Then they'll bring out the new technology. Because I don't know if you knew that or not, but
yeah,
that's sort of the way they work. So I kind of feel like telling you, Ray, you got to milk this thing and max it out, and then build on it if you need to, you know. But I just think that's a very interesting way to approach business.
and my crazy thing that I always notice about Apple is right before a product is coming out, somehow the prototype gets lost in a bar in San Francisco.
Somehow,
Every time it's like,
yeah,
oh my god,
I know, it's unbelievable. Like they really got to bump up the security there.
what an absent-minded employee they must have to do that.
Oh, we could sit here forever making fun of companies.
Yeah, yeah, it's all good, and there's no, the great thing is there's no right or wrong way, and
Yeah,
everybody can see. It's like, how do you see your way in is really it's an art form, it's a talent. um, we spend millions of dollars each year to keep water out of our houses, but water finds a way in somehow, way, shape, or form. If it
hmm,
find a way in, it talks to the pipes and say, hey, burst a little bit so we can run around in there and have some fun in the
hmm,
wall.
hmm.
And if we look at our businesses as, we want to get in somewhere where people we want to be with are, there's a way to find a way in.
You know what? So in my group, the posse,
Mm-hmm.
um, in what she said, we have people who are artists, people who are vocalists, like, and I'm talking like operatic, like
Yeah.
amazing, like well known. And then we have business people, we have philanthropists, we have, all kinds of whatever business you're in, right? But one of the things I'm going to be teaching in there is about a success cycle that I've developed. It's a model, but it starts with curiosity, and then you go through discovery, you go through exploration, or exploration and then discovery, and then you start to make choices, and then you adapt, and then you recalibrate, and the cycle starts over again. You start at curiosity again, and everything in life is cyclical. So this if you continue to make this happen, which you can without any issue, as long as you're curious, if you do that, doing that over and over and over again is what is when neuroplasticity comes into play, where you're able to train your brain, you're able to have it adjust as you go, and doing that over and over again is what I think leads to wisdom. So to your point too, like you want to sustain and build on that success, right? I mean, I have very clear ideas of what I want to do with my business, and quite frankly, it's a business strategy that I think most people should follow, because why would you not? But I'm happy to share that at any time. But I just think that we have to make sure things are sustainable without with minimal effort, and so you just have to be, and that's where everybody can be successful for as long as they want. It's funny. I was interviewed for a book that became Wall Street Journal and USA Today bestseller, and they asked me for the chapter that's on me or about me, and it's about the success model and stuff. They said, tell me one thing that's become like this amazing thing in your life that was the tipping point where something happened and it completely changed your life, and you've been become the success that you are today. And I'm thinking and I'm thinking and I'm thinking. It's like, man, I got nothing. And then I realized it's everything. It's all of our experiences that come together that lead us a certain way, right? Now, just a certain way. But the most important point at that point for me was realizing that I would hate to think that I have arrived,
Mm-hmm.
Like, how depressing is that? How depressing is it to think that, okay, you're successful now. Now it's okay if you do, go away, or like, I'm just like, why do people think like that?
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's
I
like,
could go on.
what's next? What's next?
Yeah.
It's crazy. So, and I think one of the big things that stop people that want to use their creativity. I talk about creativity, relevance, and specificity.
Yeah.
And
Love that.
those are three things that gets emails opened, and it creates conversation. It creates all kinds of good things for you. But we take these things that we do so quickly, so easily, so well, and we think that they're not great because
Absolutely.
we do. And I did a presentation about what I call the entrepreneur's conundrum, which is why most entrepreneurs fail. And one of the big things is you have to believe that you're native genius. You have to believe that you're great at what you do, that you're very unique at what you do, and you're so unique you can charge unique pricing. And you have to believe that what you do, if you can take it from your head into theirs, their life is transformed. And
I love that. Love that, Ray.
that whole native genius part is really where
I love the term native genius, by the way. And the reason I love it so much, I don't know if you've heard of, so there's essentially two kinds of intelligence, and it's not EQ and IQ. This should make a lot of parents feel really good, by the way. It is, oh my God. Not frozen, what is it called? Fluid. And I'll get to it. It starts with a C. Essentially, one is what you're born with and one is what you make. Okay, fluid and crystallized. There you go.
okay.
I'm like, it happens sometimes where I forget words, and I'm terrible with names, by the way. But what I was going to say is that fluid is essentially all the stuff that you're innately born with that's native to you, And the crystallized part is taking all of your experiences and leveraging what your native strengths are to propel you that much further. So everybody can be smart in their own right. Like there's no IQ, there's no need for those kind of levels, etc. I just think I think there's a lot of magic in what we can do together.
It's crazy that people think that being funny is a gift. They think that charisma is a gift. Those are both teachable things. They're just like financial
You're
accounting.
right.
It's
You're
a
right.
process that if you put together in a series of steps, humor is a benign violation of a norm that surprises you.
Love
Well,
it.
how often do you hear humor defined? They go, well, you're funny or you're not. I either laugh or I don't. That's not it. There's
Yeah.
if I create surprise in your life that's benign, you usually respond with at least a smile, which that's all that business humor is creating a smile in the person that's you're working with. And it does so much. And there's a book, I call it Book Humor Seriously. It has the statistics behind humor in the workplace. And it is so advantageous that and the thing is, there's a lot. I did stand up for 15 years, and in that time, I never met a stupid comedian. I met tons without any common sense, but they all have sharpness about them.
Yes.
So what they don't realize is they can take that, because I went into bars in like Rock Springs, Wyoming, with 5 minutes before the show and talked the pool cues out of 5 bikers in 5 minutes to turn and watch my show, have them enjoy the fact I did that, and then enjoy the show. And I could do that. I learned how to do it. If you showed me to do that, most people go, I don't want to do that. But I'm like, okay, got it. I learned the process of that. And that's what I did when I created the Lean In Factor. I also created a program called the Humor Algorithm. And I taught how to do those things.
But I think that also is a tribute to you for being fearless, right?
There is a little bit of fear. I don't know if fearless is the right word, or stupid, or a little bit of
no, it's like
inspired courage. Who knows?
Well, I think it's. So I always say this, like when I try a new skill, unless you put it into practice, how are you going to know?
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to know if you've accomplished anything or not? Like it's like singing. Just put yourself out there.
Yeah.
And see what happens. You'll know real quick.
And my theory on your comfort zone is that you will never go outside your comfort zone, but you have the ability to move the walls out. And so, like, for example, if you said, Ray, let's go skydiving. But if you said, Ray, come with me in the plane when I go skydiving, and I just want you to be there with me. And you got me to stay there, and then you went out. The next time I realized you didn't die, and I saw what you had to do leading up to it. So that wouldn't be new. It would be a normal thing. I could do that. And so the odds of you getting me to do it the next time shoot way up. So you never jump outside of it because it's too scary to do. Mm-hmm. It's a question of pushing it out. And the problem with pushing out the wall of your comfort zone is who you hang out with, because there's people on the other side pushing it in. And
can you talk about that a little bit more?
Well, a lot of times what you think of your safety net in life is really your drag net. And so the people that are the closest to you, oh, that's crazy, Ray, you should never do stand-up comedy. Now, luckily, I had parents that said, oh, is that what you want to do? That's great. I love that. And my sister sang for the San Francisco Symphony Choir and was on Broadway. And so she was just in one show, see, there I go. Just in one show on Broadway. How many people try to get on Broadway but never get there? My sister was on there, and she was in Merchant of Venice with Dustin Hoffman. And she said, yeah, everybody says he's really difficult to work with, but not for the actors. It's for the directors, because he actually did something where they had a friends and family night, and he bought out the entire upper part of the theater so people could bring their relatives to see the show.
Wow.
And he gave them all tour jackets and things like that. So I don't know, that was my experience. Well, I've a great Dustin Hoffman story, but I have his 8x10 in my office signed because my sister, when she was in New York and she wasn't coming home for Christmas, said, "What do you want for Christmas?" And I said, "An 8x10 of Dustin signed." And she goes, "Oh, you don't want that?" I go, "Why not?" I sent him one of mine. And she goes, "Oh, that's good. Do it." So I got my headshot and I wrote across the bottom, "Dear Dustin, my mom wants to know when you're going to give up this silly little acting whim. She thinks a cute boy like you would do well in the stock market. I got to go. Wapner's on in 5 minutes." And I signed my name and I sent it. And about a week later, I got this little tiny card and it had a Polaroid picture. Because what he did is he got female members of the cast. He took my 8x10 and he put it up in his dressing room. And
Yeah.
he got female members of the cast to come in and swoon at my picture.
Yeah.
And he signed the bottom of it. And she goes, "Did you get it?" And I go, "Yeah, but where's my 8x10?" And so a couple of weeks later, in the mail came this rolled up tube. The guy in the mail didn't know what it was. It didn't say fragile or anything, but he rolled it because it was typed in cardboard. So he rolled it to fit in the mailbox.
Yeah.
I just wanted to let you know I'm doing better in the stock market than in my last movie. Thanks for the autograph.
It brings up another point too, this notion of storytelling, right?
Mm.
Storytelling is just brilliant. I mean, it's the way scriptures have been passed down through generations.
Yeah.
It's the way, ideas live on. It's the way to stimulate and excite and, entertain, engage people. That's one of the reasons I write. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've got like 8 books in the works, and that's too much. So I need to start publishing them.
That's a lot. I love having a book in the works, though, because I can get through to any business owner or person I want to by using this simple little phrase. It's like, Wanda, I'm writing a book called Leadership Through Laughter, and I'm reaching out to great CEOs who use humor in the workplace. I would want to get your 2 cents and maybe include it in the book.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, love that. Love that idea.
And so that's the one book that I have that I probably should finish and write a second one, but I just get so much mileage out of doing that. The other side of it is I do have a book. My website is just like, it's like proof of life. There's really nothing new on there, but I do have an ebook the title is The Last Seminar Book You'll Ever Need, Part 1.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Man,
I hope you do write a lot. Like you'd be awesome, an awesome writer.
I have all these. I come up with ideas like crazy, and the full story. I've got a bunch of stories that I tell about my life and my childhood, and I used to be the shyest kid in the world, and I overcame that, and there's another story about how we cured a kid of cancer with a shoebox and all these other things. And so there's the shoebox story I would really like to make a movie into. That would be like the bucket list thing that I think would be the number one thing that I really haven't pursued with that. But it's a Disney movie waiting to happen.
I love that. I can totally see that just from the title.
Yeah. It's called Shoebox Billy
yeah. Or I guess the concept, not the title.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. It's a great story. And it's my, I have a couple of signature speeches when I speak to groups. That's one of them. And I actually have a shoebox from that era, and I bring it on, and it's a ratted, tattered piece of cardboard, but I say, this is the most important piece of cardboard in my life. I'll get to that. And I put it aside and I tell the story, and I bring it back and I form it into the shoebox. And the last time I did it for a group of entrepreneurs, they were all these people that say they were wonderful at building rapport with great products, hard time getting a hold of anybody and returning their calls. And so I did this whole presentation. I had the whole thing about the native genius and I said, so at the end, I pulled out the cardboard and put it back in, and it's a Tom McCann old shoebox. And I say, now you tell me how hard it is to connect with strangers. Excuse me if I don't find that hard, because remember, we cured cancer with a shoebox. And then,
Brilliant.
And yeah, it's I love speaking in front of groups. I don't do it as much as I did before COVID. I kind of relegated myself to this couch to, but it's worked for me.
So far, it's worked really well, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to offer up to your community that if they're interested in chatting further, or want to have me on a podcast, or you have an event that you need a speaker for, I'm happy to do that. I love doing it. Um, and I encourage people to contact me. I'm on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is probably the best way.
Okay.
But
Okay. Let me put a quick thing up in there so we can get them into you. I will put your full name on there. Oops, I spelled it the way you say it.
Vendana.
Yeah. There we go. And
Perfect.
that.
Oh, you spelled it wrong.
I forgot one. Okay. Hide. Edit. That's the beauty of doing things live.
Fast fingers.
Yeah. Add banner. Oh, there we go. Save. I love. So the other thing I love. So whenever I love the conversation between the host of whatever and the rest, and not really the audience, but when they go to share their screen. And I just did the same thing there, and it drives me crazy. But I have ways to get around it during meetings. But it's like, okay, let me check right here. Let me click. Can there is that? I can. Where do you see what? Can you guys see that? Can you And I also did. So I got so tired of at the beginning of COVID with the you're on mute. And it's still, people should know by now, you're on mute. So I changed it. I created a whole thing, Rule 13. And if I'm in a meeting, and I started doing that, and I said, Rule 13, what's that? Well, if you're on mute, I'm just going to say Rule 13, because I don't want to have to say, Jimmy, you're on mute. Unmute yourself. You're on mute. Rule 13. And of course, when I would be on mute, they loved spinning it on me and yelling at. But I went to another meeting. This is how you know you're getting somewhere. I went to another meeting with people that really I didn't know. And I was in the middle of the meeting, and somebody said Rule 13.
Wow.
Like, yes.
I'm gonna steal that. I think that's a great idea. Give you credit always, of course.
There's another guy I worked with once named Peter Fong. And he's the only guy I ever worked with that if you told him to do something once, he did it. And the rest of us, and one of the problems with my management skills was I was afraid to tell people things more than once in the beginning, because I figured they'd know it, but they don't know it. Yeah. And so if I want to get that point across, I'll tell that Peter Fong story to a group of managers or to my boss. And so when I think that they've done things and they're doing that, they'll say things like, well, I told you that last Tuesday. And I said, oh, I wish I was Peter Fong. And they'll go, oh, I get it. Or if they do something, I'll say Peter Fong, and they'll get. So it's these little devices.
Cues, yeah.
To create what you want to have happen,
yeah,
only in our own control. And
I love that. Totally love that.
Yep.
I mean, of course, I've been exposed to that, but you just kind of don't think about it as much. But I think like when we raise our hands and I'm doing this and you do this, people know.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yep.
Girl Scouts is really great for that, by the way.
Be prepared.
And
Linda backstage just sent a connection request to you on LinkedIn. So.
Oh, great. Happy to connect with anybody who's interested and just reach out.
And I got to wrap this thing up. I could talk with you for hours.
Me too.
Sure we will. But everybody out there, go to thisiswhatshesaid.com. Register for next Wednesday. I believe it's
the 20th,
2 o'clock
November 20th
time, 5 o'clock Eastern time, and she'll be outlining things for you, showing you where you can go and what you can do,
and how we're going to flip the script. We never talked about that exactly, but that is how to flip the script.
And I got excited just hearing about it, looking at it. Go hear this woman give her greatness. and go there. You'll walk away. You'll be a better person just by being been there. It doesn't cost a dime to go on there. And if you want to continue on with her, there's ways to do that too. But I'm just excited to have had you for the last hour and going forward, and we'll do this again.
Thank you so much, Ray. So appreciate it. And I'm honored to be a guest on your show, and also delighted.
And Linda had a good time back. It says this was fun. So thank you out there. Put comments in. We'll get answers for you. If you need to, again, if you're unsure about how to get a hold of Vendana or anything with me, put something in the comments and I'll make sure you get it there. So until next time, America.